On Soul Impact, How Music Saved Us, we welcome Jennifer Harper, a singer-songwriter and a healer whose music isn't just heard, it transforms. Through her voice, piano, scarce frequencies, Jennifer guides us on a journey of healing, awakening, and discovering our true potential. Let's welcome Jennifer Harper.
Thank you so much.
Once I was a drifter, all alone away from home, searching for an answer in my soul.
This program is part of the Scene Project's podcast network. The Scene Project features interviews with independent musicians, comedians, and artists from across the Midwest. Become part of our community and support local art wherever you are.
Hello, and I want to welcome everyone back to another episode of Soul Impact, How Music Saved Us. I'm your host, Willie, and today I got with us Jennifer Harper. Jennifer, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this conversation.
So a little bit about the show, kind of how I got the drive to start it, is music has always been that outlet for me. I've had a pretty rough childhood, and it was due to child abuse and stuff. So it was always a way of helping me express myself. And there wasn't a whole lot of resources when I was a kid that people could easily find. So the big drive behind this is I wanted it to be someone easy accessible. So people struggling, whether it's depression, loss of a loved one, addiction, whatever the day-to-day life struggle is, that they can find something that they have hope in. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of what you got going on?
Wow, I really respect your mission, and it's an honor to be able to help contribute in any way. What you touch on is so important, for children. There's so many different variations of traumatic experiences in childhood, and most of us experience it in one way or another. Obviously, some more severe than others, and that music could be a refuge and a place for healing is so beautiful. And that you've taken this even further to now create this show. I have a lot of respect. So thank you. Like you, I guess I found refuge in music, and most people who become musicians probably that's the same story, right? Is we found our peace and we found our place in music, and it's a language in itself, and it's a frequency, right? So I guess for me, I gravitated towards music. It was clear it was a gift of mine from a very early age. I started playing the piano at the age of 4. I probably was, playing with the keys even younger than that, but like 4 started some formal lessons, and but played very much by ear, and I just loved it. So I just did it all the time, and would write songs as well, but more very childish, free form kind of singing to the wind. It was much later that I started writing actual music. And it was just always a place I felt home, as a place I felt it was just always a language that made sense to me and that resonated with me. And so I would say my trauma actually took me away from music, interestingly enough, because I felt, although I still listened to music and enjoyed music, I didn't feel worthy of saying, I have a gift, or I have a talent for this, or I have a desire to actually do this in a more professional way. I didn't see myself as being somebody who would be taken seriously for talent or anything like that. So I actually shied away from doing music. And it was when I started healing later in life that I realized I came back to my childhood gifts and what I knew meant so much to me, and opened the door again to claiming that gift and doing it in my own way. So it's been a lifelong journey with music, and there's many different aspects of you know, my journey. But I would say that is that's kind of in a nutshell, I guess, what happened was that I came back to it as I was in a healing place in my life to claim the gift of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing about music though, is that like I'm actually a DJ. I own a DJ karaoke business here in Missouri.
Mm.
I always wanted to do it, and we had a guy down here. His name, we called him Big Lee. He was exactly that. It wasn't one of them oxymorons nicknames. He was big, and he was proud of it. So he went by Big Lee, and just the way he entertained people and brought joy to people. And I was like, I wanted that. Well, part of it, I got into it for selfish reasons because like I wanted people to be like, I love country music. I love like the classic country, like Merle Haggard, Conway Twitty, that era of country music. I just absolutely love it. Always have. And I kind of got into it that I was like, I'm going to make people like country music again. I quickly realized that is not how it's going to work, but it's been great because, you know, I do weddings, I do events, I do just about anything you can think of it, but you can always tell when the music is hitting somebody because they're smiling and or they're crying, you know, just the emotions that go in the music itself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's how I started recognizing that I truly had a gift, is when I finally started writing music and getting out there with it later in life. And people would come up to me in tears and, confidentially, am I saying that word right? Tell me, that the music had impacted them in a particular way, allowed some kind of a release, or enabled them to be able to process some very deep emotions. So I realized that the music was doing something more to people. And as I continued to perform and write and produce and record music, it became more and more apparent that this is what was unique about my way of doing music. It was the messages that I had to bring and the healing that it provided to people in the listening to the music. So, and to myself as I wrote it. But in any case, this became more and more clear to me the more I did it. And then with this recent album that I just released called Soul Alive. So we're very aligned here in our names of our missions. Soul Alive just was released on September 5th. And this body of work is my most authentic expression of my voice and my message that I'd been able to create up until this point. So I feel very proud of the work. It still really deeply resonates with me, even though I started writing it, 4 or 5 years ago. The messages still really resonate with me, and it's all about different aspects of healing, releasing things that no longer serve, stepping into our gifts, connecting deeply with nature, and a lot about women too, women rising into their power. So I do focus a lot on themes of women. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I do a lot of mental health with my podcast, but I'm really geared towards veterans. In fact, next year I will be doing 2 different concerts for Operation Combat Veteran Suicide, and I'm going to help them raise money to provide housing for veterans and stuff. So I'm a firm believer you use your talents you have to give back to your community, and your community is so much more than just where you live. A lot of people's like, oh, I give back to my community, and to me, I think it's the community much more bigger than the city of Salem I live in.
Yes, especially nowadays when we have access to the whole world through the internet. So yeah, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful mission.
So who are some of your biggest musical influences, and how did their influence shape your sound?
Well, influences changed a lot over the years, but I definitely grew up in the 70s, so very influenced by the singer-songwriter sound of the 70s, Carole King, Joni Mitchell, Cat Stevens, Simon and Garfunkel, all these people, James Taylor, they were really who I listened to and seeped into my blood. It's just how I was raised, and it's like it's just home. And then as I grew older, I started being interested in more sort of outrageous, creative, pushing the envelope kind of artists. I was a big fan of David Bowie, and knew probably every one of his songs, by heart, and would sing loud on my own to everything. And I loved the Rolling Stones. And, then it was sort of the punk era, and there was, I really dug, like, I loved Chrissie Hynde, who was sort of forerunner of a lot of that edgy kind of music. And there was that whole new wave and punk scene where I lived, and I got into so much different music. I was really into music, so it's like I listened to it all. I also listened to a lot of reggae and funk, just so many different artists. It's like, how would I even pick, And then later there was all the female singer-songwriters and artists like, Tracy Chapman really inspired me, just her raw authenticity and stripped down performances. And so many artists that have just been so brilliant and influenced me. I'm probably forgetting a lot of really key ones, but later in life, when I got very busy, I have 3 kids. So when I was raising kids, I sought more mellow music, started listening to more classical music a lot, and got really into Enya. And I loved Enya, and the soothing frequencies felt like the most important thing for me that I was seeking in music at that stage of my life. I just wanted calm, the mayhem of kids running all over the place. So I would say I started getting more into, and I guess there was a whole term of like new age music too, so I was listening to a lot more instrumental type music, and Enya really became a guiding light for me in terms of the sounds that really resonated with me. So I do feel a little bit in this album that I've been able to get to that more ethereal sound and healing sound, and really wanting the frequencies to land for people in a way that brings them a sense of healing and calm or empowerment. But that it's really more like medicine. The music is more medicinal in that way, in the way that I experienced it as well when I was, in a hectic period of my life. So I hope that answers the question.
It did. Wholeheartedly it did. You performed on major venues and rallies like March of Our Lives. What's one performance that has really stayed with you and why? Told you they were going to be tough questions.
Yeah. You know, every performance means something for different reasons. And I guess what felt like a great accomplishment for me at the time was when I performed after my last album. I have an album called All the Love. That was the last album that I released. And after that was released, I really made an effort to get out there and perform and do that sort of mini touring, like I would do little repeated performances in certain areas. And it wasn't, I had little kids and I wasn't going to be going on tour. That was my choice not to, go off for an extended periods of time. But I did travel a bit around the country and do some performances and worked with a lot of incredible musicians. And I think that was just such a joyous time for me. Although it wasn't the time of doing performance for a cause, which always means so much to me, as you said, giving back to community and doing performances to raise awareness or to raise money. But for me personally, it was such a victory. It was such a personal victory to do these performances with these incredible musicians and to have this full sound and full bands performing my music. And that was pretty great for me.
I could only imagine. I've always wanted to play, but I broke my arm, so I can't turn my hand wrist up. So I've always wanted to learn to play guitar. So that's why I became a DJ too, because I love music and just be able to give back. It's not necessarily the expressing the thank you, but to me, it's seeing the smile on somebody's face when, whether you're doing a benefit or just doing a regular gig, is seeing the smile on somebody's face.
Yeah.
That when they come in, they come in all mopey, and when they leave, they're leaving with a smile on their face. To me, that kind of stuff makes everything worth it.
Yeah. And actually, it reminds me, though, that I think at this point in my life, what has meant the most to me, I've been doing music on retreats. So I've been doing different workshops and retreats with women, and I bring the music and I perform the music, but I also have healing offerings that I do as well, where I help the women come into their own voices and express their own desires and gifts. And that has been, now I would say that is really what lights me up, is being able to express my music in this way where it's really for a purpose. It's clearly for the purpose of helping other people to step into their power and their gifts. And that's been really amazing.
I bet. That's funny, because that brings me to my next question. Your music is described as healing and transformative. I can't. How do you consciously bring the energy into your songs?
How do I consciously bring the energy into my songs is the question? Yes. Yeah. Well, as I'm writing, I'm working with a theme. It's not just about writing the song. It's about the healing theme that I'm working with. For example, I'll just give you an example of my song. Which song should I give you the example of? I'll give you an example of my song, Goodbye. Goodbye was written as I was releasing things in my life that really no longer served me. And I was really working on this consciously, of identifying what it was in my life that no longer served me, writing lists of things I would no longer tolerate, burning things in the fire to like release them, So I was really going through a season of getting clear on what no longer served me and what I would no longer tolerate, and clearing the space for me to really call in my highest power. So as I was working on that in my own life, a song came through, and it came through in water, which happens to me quite often, where it just opens up a channel, and music and melody and lyrics seem to come through while I'm in water. And that happened with this song. And then I bring it to the piano. And as I craft it at the piano, I bring the consciousness to it of not only my own healing, because I've gone through my own healing, and it's expression of what I've released already at that point. And then I craft it with the consciousness of how it will land for other people, how they will receive the message, how they'll actually be able to sing along with it, and what that will do for them. Because I believe that everything we speak, it's our place of manifestation. What we speak comes to fruition. So very important to be careful of what you say, how you say it, and to phrase things in the positive for yourself. So with that in mind, I craft the song so that it really lands for others in a way that will be healing for them and allow them to release things that no longer serve. So that's just one example, but it's pretty much my process, I guess, is that I work with the music, the melody in my own healing, and then craft it with others in mind. Yeah.
Well, that just answered my next question. So
I'm always one step ahead of you here.
That's perfectly okay.
Okay.
So as a mother of three, how do you balance it?
It wasn't easy a lot of times, but I found ways to just incorporate the music into my daily life. So, for example, I would just let the piano music, I would go to the piano and play and practice and let that be part of the soundtrack for my kids as they were playing, rather than saying, okay, I have to wait until XYZ and then I can go do my music. It was just, no, it was like, this is life. The kids are playing, they're making noise, and I'm at the piano writing music. And it's funny because I have so many voice notes, and I'm always recording voice notes with the music that I'm creating. And, there's so many where you hear the kids screaming and running around in the background. And it's really like a joyous, for me, like a joyous atmosphere, even though it could be crazy sometimes. Obviously, sometimes I have to stop what I was doing and go tend to whatever messes or fights or whatever were happening. But I tried to just make it part of life, and then, make it part of what was normal for them too, that I'm practicing my singing or practicing my piano, and it helped them develop their own relationship to music, although none of them are pursuing it professionally, but they all have their own connection to music and appreciation for it. So yeah.
I'm a single parent to a 3-year-old, and I see that all the time. Like, normally on some of my podcasts, you can actually hear her come in, daddy, 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 but I don't edit anything. I leave everything raw and the reason why that is because I want people to know that it's okay to chase your dreams and live a day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I have never edited a video. Now, there have been some I didn't post because of the language people had in the video, but and it's so cute because like she'll come up and I'll have my headphones on. It's like, Daddy, you doing a podcast? And she'll sit over there and watch for
Yeah.
free, and it amazes me.
Yeah.
The
It's
fact
great
that
for them. It's great for them. I mean, it's wonderful for them to see their parents doing something they love, and also just to have the exposure and to have it be made a normal part of life,
yeah,
It's
like
great.
I've been opened up. I met, which you had already interviewed with him, but Bubba Starts. He's such an amazing guy. I met him June of this year, and we hit instant. It was one of them people that felt like you've known each other for a lifetime, and it's been so important for my podcast to have a mentor like that.
Yes.
And my daughter will actually get on the phone with him and be like, "Hey, Bubba, Bubba, Bubba," and he goes with it, and it's So, has there been someone in your career that has kind of been like that mentor to you?
Yeah, mentor is so important. I was so really fortunate when I was a young woman. I met a man by the name of Billy Davis, who he was involved in Motown. He was a producer, he was a writer, he was a singer, he was, songwriter, and he got into A&R and advertising, and he wrote the song "I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing" and that Coke ad back in the 70s. And I met him. I was doing a show. I was acting in New York City at the time, and he was in the audience, and I met him after a show, and he, I expressed at that time shyly that I really was interested in writing my own music. And he really took me under his wing and encouraged me. And I used to go to his place and bring him, my ideas, and he just helped me in a wide variety of ways. But at that time, it was so important because just to have somebody say, yes, you can do it, and I believe in you, and I think you have talent, and these songs are good. Helped so much. And of course I did my first demos at his studio and really got a start in that way as well. He was just an amazing person, and so generous with his heart and his wisdom and his experience. So I felt really, really fortunate that I had that relationship early on. And I pretty much honestly sabotaged a lot of my early opportunities, because although I had that wonderful gift of having him in my life, I did not make the most of it. I made some poor choices, and it ended up that I didn't really follow through on everything that I had learned during that time with him until much later. But he really did teach me, and it's hard to put my finger on it now because it's been a long time, but there was something about, he really helped me get to the soul, to my soul of what I was trying to say, what I was expressing through the music. So yeah, very special man. And I've had other mentors. I've had mentors in faith. I'm a practicing Buddhist, and my mentor in faith is Daisaku Ikeda. And when I first was introduced to his writings, and this is when everything really shifted for me, because I read a poem that he wrote. He was a Buddhist philosopher and poet and peace pioneer. And there was a poem that he wrote, and when I read it, it was talking about how do we create peace in America. It was talking to the young people, and it was a beautiful vision of the future and a peaceful world, and really speaking with so much care and attention to detail to young people. And somewhere in the middle of the poem, he went and he sort of brought it back to this idea. He said, first of all, you yourself must live a life of no regrets. And I remember when I read that I felt instantly, I knew if I didn't do the music, I would have a life of regrets. And I absolutely had to come back to it and do as much as I could to get my words, my voice out there, or I would always feel regretful in my life. So although I never met him in person, I read many of his books and his works, and he really deeply influenced my life. So I'm a big believer in having a mentor and how much it can shape you and support you in the pursuit of your dreams and goals. Yeah.
So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you at?
Sure. JenniferHarperMusic.com is probably the best place. That's my website. I'm on all streaming platforms, so you can find my music everywhere, but a good central place is JenniferHarperMusic.com. And I have free gifts there as well if you join the mailing list, and then you stay up to date on all of the things that are happening. So yeah. You can also connect to socials there, on Instagram. I'm on all the platforms. And not TikTok, though. Not on TikTok.
I'm on a lot of platforms myself. Sometimes they're hard to manage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, again, I want to thank you so much. This has been a truly great conversation. As soon as I know when this episode will come out, I'll let you know.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Remember, those of you that are watching, if you're not, go follow her, go show her some love, and remember to love each other and support each other. Until next time, you are loved, guys.
Thank you.